So I started out in ministry when I was pretty young, and for 25 years I was a paid time person on a staff, mostly executive, all large churches, what we called mega churches. So ranging from 3,000 to 1,200 to 10,000 to 6,000 on the weekends. And then after 25 years, I came with a team of people, all paid staff people, including myself, to Utah. And I never even thought through the idea of what would happen if we weren't successful. I was astounded when I got to Utah on how much I had relied on personal momentum and community momentum, having momentum in the group based on statistical growth, growing in numbers, or some kind of success that we had set up. Because I hadn't ever really been a part of anything that hadn't been fairly successful. I didn't realize how much I was leveraging growth and success to keep myself going, momentum, keep other people going. Now, why do I say that? And I want to say this in an optimistic ways. Churches in Utah don't grow as quickly and don't grow as big, at least in my experience. And so this isn't just Utah now, though. Let me give you a larger landscape of what's happening in the United States. Mega churches are in decline, including ours. The rise of small churches becoming mega churches isn't happening as easily, if at all. Even in our network, and we're on it, we work hard at it. It's difficult for us now to plant a church and have it see it grow to the size that can support staff members and has this sort of ongoing numerical growth and apparent success because we're hitting our marks, that you can leverage that to encourage people, to motivate people. Everybody wants to jump into something successful. And when you have statistical growth, you're growing in numbers. When you don't see that in Utah, and when you don't see the apparent successes that you're used to seeing, discouragement can rush in. And that's not just Utah. That now is starting to become a national problem. Europe long ago faced that and didn't get through it. Canada's in the midst of it now, and we're next on the agenda. How are we going to practice leadership in churches here when we don't see the growth that we were used to seeing? Now, here's the thing. We used to look at smaller churches. I'm going to kind of put myself out there. Churches that weren't growing and didn't have success as a leadership problem, or there was something going on. They weren't doing something right. And now what I realize is that healthy churches, well-led churches, don't grow as fast, and they don't grow as big, and especially here in Utah. So what do you do about that? I want to give you some ideas because now I've been here 10 years now, and I'm in a slow-growing, I think healthy church, but a slow-growing church, not nearly as big as we'd hoped it would be. I come from a mega-church background where there was lots of success to leverage, and I still have the issue of momentum. Now here, let me say the big idea. We can maintain a sense of momentum regardless of circumstances, but I had to learn some things about it. Let me read a place in the Bible to you. So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we'll reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. So I'm bringing this from personal experience. These are things that I had to amp up when I came here and decided to stay here because the growth and apparent success wasn't there to keep people moving. Number one, focus on good execution. Now, it's not that we didn't focus on that through the years, but I mean, when you're not seeing the numerical growth and you're not seeing the successes that you want to, the execution, how well you do things, not being tired and doing things well. Here's what happens when you don't see success. You can become sloppy and you sort of lose your edge a little bit. And part of motivation, staying vibrant, is being committed to doing things well. How you execute it. Are you debriefing? Are you researching? Are you trying new things? Are you experimenting? Regardless of size and outcome, are you still trying to execute as good as you can? Is the weekends, the programs that you're doing, the way you meet with people, the way you dress, the way you carry yourself, the relationships that you're in, are you executing those as good as you can? And that becomes a focus point. That becomes a focus point. That's what you talk about. The victories are there. The wins are there. The experiences are the execution, how you run the plays, how you do the work of ministry, how you live with each other. The execution becomes a focus point because as you get better and better at that, that creates momentum regardless of outcome. Okay? Now, number two, balance reality and hope. One of the things I had to do here is realize that different market and different opportunities. And so I couldn't always be talking about, when we round the corner, this or that's going to happen. I had to at some point embrace reality, but not lose track of hope. Say, hey, there's exceptions to the rules. The Red Sea still parts. There can be miracles. There's still a chance of an awakening. There can be large, fast-growing things. It can occur. Miracles can happen. Those results are still possible to some degree, but based in the reality of the pace that it's probably going to happen. And those two things, that paradox, here's the reality of what we're in, and here's the hope at the same time. And you have to hold them side by side. We didn't face reality much in our megachurch days. We had so much hope because we were growing and growing. There was so much success. We just kept pushing that and saying, it's going to be bigger, it's going to be faster, it's going to be better. And it happens so often that we could just keep playing that card. But when you get to Utah, because churches here don't grow as quickly, nor as big, you have to be willing to face reality. You can only experience life in reality. Now that's mixed in with hope because we serve a great, ginormous, miracle-working God. But you have to learn what that looks like for you, and you have to lead people in that reality and hope. Number 3, expand what it means to be successful. And let me take a minute with this, because for me, success had to do with more money, more people, bigger buildings, greater programs, more influence, and then you come to Utah. And that doesn't happen because churches here don't grow as quickly or as big. And so now all of a sudden you feel unsuccessful. So what I had to do for me and for those that came with me, we all came from a large church. We were all paid people there. We were all in significant roles there. And then we come to Utah, and there's not the success we wanted to see, and we decided to stay. God wants us to stay in Utah, and we want to be in Utah. So what does success look like now? We had to expand it. We had to expand it to look at things like, how is our finances doing? What are our relationships like? How's my relationship with my wife, with my children? What kind of house do I live in? How's my job going? See, what happened, we noticed, is God began to do things in our life that wasn't specifically tied to numbers or growth of church, how well the ministry was going, how fast and quickly it was becoming successful, that our personal lives were successful. People finished degrees, they got debt paid off, they became healthier, their marriages were closer, they made their best friend here. And as we expanded what success looked like, we started to realize that God was providing for us to be successful in many areas. And if we would embrace that success, that got inside of us, and we felt successful. That it wasn't just tied to the size of the church. Now, here's the thing in Utah, one of the foundational things everybody has to face that comes here is our family units, our friendship units, how we're connected in our communities is a big part of what it takes to do ministry here. When you're in a fast-growing church, you're in a mega church, you got tons of friends, you may be coming from that. If you're coming to Utah, may have been a part of something like that, you probably will. And then you're going to come here and it's going to be different. And if your ability to feel good about yourself because you're successful is tied to numerical growth, it doesn't grow as quickly here, it doesn't get as big in Utah, but there's other ways that God grants you success. And a lot of times it's our families, our relationships, our finances, our personal health. And when you embrace that, you expand that, you can feel successful. Now here's the bottom line. My job is to address discouragement here and maintain momentum. I didn't worry a lot about it in a megachurch setting. Here was our thought back then, I'll end with this. Hey, we're paying you. So we expected people to self-govern in our environment, right or wrong. It wasn't you didn't address discouragement, but you just felt like, hey, we're paying you. I'm being paid. Part of my job is to self-govern, keep myself up, optimistic, filled with faith. But here, where people aren't going to be paid, there isn't going to be as much success. I, as a leader, have to know it's my job to maintain momentum and address people with discouragement. I'll give you some ideas how to do it. Hope it helps. God bless.